Hi, I'm Nikki Vredenberg with Montana PBS. We're here to talk to you about having a PBS Kids EdCamp and sharing with you the welcome slide deck and how we use it to introduce EdCamp and set up the day for our participants. You'll find the slide deck and many versions of it on Basecamp. We've taken the template and made it our own, and hopefully you will too. We start our day by introducing the Montana PBS staff who volunteered to help with the event and any community volunteers that are helping as well. We try to give them all a Montana PBS t-shirt wearing the same colors so that we can point them out and participants know who to go to if they have questions about the event. PBS Kids EdCamp allowed Montana PBS to partner with our digital innovators and our early learning champion. A few of our digital innovators help us plan and set up the event, and our early learning champion, Tracy Piltz, was one of our co-hosts. These educators were instrumental in making our day successful, and while they have their reasons for participating, we were so happy to have their help. Next, we make sure that we post the Wi-Fi password information as well as the link to the session board. We have this all over the event so that even when the slides move past that particular slide, participants can find that information if we need it. And that's where our volunteers and community members come in helpful because they can walk through the crowd and help people get connected. Then we share our social media information. EdCamps are all about sharing things on social media, and for many of our participants, it's the first time they've used social media for a professional reason. So we always share our hashtag PBS EdCamp because the hope is that EdCamps all over the country are sharing using that hashtag. And then we share our Montana PBS Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook handles as well, and try to encourage participants to tag us in any photos or comments they make on social media. Since many of our early childhood providers come to us and have made comments that they aren't familiar with social media for professional development, it offers a nice little nugget to add something to the session board to talk to teachers about how they might be able to use social media to connect with other educators. Next, we play a game called Who is Here? Please Stand Up. This is an important game because it allows everyone in the room to quickly see who is present and to feel like they're part of a learning community. We start by saying something like, if you've been to an EdCamp before, please stand up. Now we've found in the couple of events that we've done that only a couple of people stand up. Because EdCamp is fairly new to our community, especially for the early childhood community. So when just a couple of those educators stand up, I always like to say something like, thank you for coming to our EdCamp. We're going to rely on you to help us make these sessions great. Those of you who are new today, please look for these faces in your sessions and let them help you with the day. Then I might say, all right, who hasn't been to an EdCamp before? And in our experience, almost the entire room has stood up. This is really important because now everyone else in the room can see that they're not alone. They're sharing this brand new experience with other people around them. And a lot of early childhood educators tell us that this is a very new way for them to receive professional development. So helping them feel comfortable that they are not the only ones in the room is very important. Then I go to their teaching role. And so I say, if you teach children between the ages of 0 and 5, please stand up. And we stop and acknowledge the people that are in the room. All right, stand up if you teach children between the ages of 5 and 8. And another type of person stands up. This is important so that they can see who's in the room. Who are their future peers going to be in these sessions? How many people are there in the room that have the same teaching situation that they do? Then I like to think about their years in experience. And this is important for establishing the EdCamp philosophy that it's about experience, not experts. So then I say, if you're in your first year of teaching, please stand up. And I have everyone clap. And I thank them for coming to an EdCamp and admire their bravery for coming to something new like this. After we've acknowledged the experience in the room, this is a nice way for me to go on and explain that that's what EdCamp is all about, learning from one another, learning from our peers. We don't need the author of a book or some expensive keynote speaker. We have all the experts we need in this room to have powerful conversations around teaching our youngest learners. That leads me right into why is PBS hosting an EdCamp? And this is a question we got a little bit from our attendees. We think it's great that you're doing this, but why? And why is it just early childhood educators? And this is where I share with attendees that, as you know, PBS Kids content was created for children ages 0 to 8 with a real emphasis on helping develop literacy and math skills for early childhood. Many of our teaching resources are created to go along with our content, and in creating those resources, PBS discovered that supporting early child educators in their work with our youngest learners was a need that we could help meet. So for that reason, we partnered with the EdCamp Foundation to take this already proven model for effectively facilitating collaboration among teachers and customized it for our early childhood educators. I was a kindergarten and first grade teacher for most of my teaching career. During that time, I was often frustrated by the professional development that was offered because none of it fit my needs as an early childhood educator. I'm proud to be able to bring these events to primary and early childhood providers because it gives them an event that's just for them. There's so little professional development out there specifically for people who work with our youngest learners. Often we go to events that are really for people who teach older kids, and we have to sit there and try and figure out how it applies to us. Or we go to K-12 ed camps, and very few sessions are things that are specifically for people that work with the youngest children in the school. For that reason, PBS is proud to offer an event that is specifically for early childhood educators. Then I share the agenda for the day. Keeping the agenda posted throughout the event and reminding people of the agenda is really important. The rules of adult learning tell us that transparency is key for giving professional development to adults. People want to know what they're here for, how long they're going to be doing it, and when they're going to be fed. And that's why the agenda is really important. Our ed camps were both full-day ed camps because we knew in our state educators needed full days of trainings. Other stations are having 2 to 3 hour or half-day ed camps, and that's just fine. Just make sure that whatever the agenda is and whatever your schedule is, your participants are aware of that from the time they enter to the time they leave. Now the next few slides is setting up the EdCamp Experience. And again, going with the understanding that many of our participants have never attended an EdCamp before, probably are sitting down looking around thinking, what am I doing here and what have I gotten myself into? We also heard from a lot of our early child care providers that most of the professional development that they had participated in involved them sitting and listening, but not really participating. So while they're open to that, it's very new and can feel uncomfortable at first. So I go through some of the tenets right within the slide deck of things that we can do to make the EdCamp the best day possible. The first thing is to really enforce this idea that EdCamp is participant driven. You are the experts, so you're not only here to learn things, but you're also here to share things. You have the knowledge, and we want to empower you to share your expertise no matter what it is. It can be anything from a project you do with your class for Father's Day, or a strategy you use to help a child who's having a hard time being away from mom or dad. This is about conversation and collaboration. I use the word conversation all day long so that educators know that they're not sitting down in a session listening to an expert talk, they're participating in a conversation with their peers. We also continue to enforce that sessions can be facilitated by anyone. I like to have people from our staff and from our community planted in each of our sessions so that I know I have an experienced discussion facilitator and a note taker in each of the rooms. It makes us feel confident that those sessions are going to stay on topic and that people there are going to feel like their voice is heard. However, if there is someone who is a participant in the event and goes to a session and wants to pick up that role and feels empowered to get the discussion going, I want them to go ahead and do that. We want everyone to feel like their voice is an important part of each session. A session can start with an idea, a question, a problem, a doubt, an opinion, or a story. I always stop here because while I think it's important for participants to talk about the problems that they have in their classrooms, I also caution them from turning these sessions into venting sessions. We want to make sure that our sessions are productive and that we are moving towards solving our problem. So I usually say something like, it's perfectly fine to address a problem, but please be open to any solutions your colleagues may have for your problem, and try not to spend too much time on any one problem. I find that this sets up the day and helps people to keep things positive. Now there's something that is part of all EdCamps, and that is the rule of 2 feet. The idea is this is your day. This is your professional development. Most of the educators that come to these events are giving up time with their families on the weekends or in the evenings, and so they should feel empowered to only attend and be a part of sessions that are relevant to them. For that reason, the rule of 2 feet says that if you're in a session and it's not giving you exactly what you need, quietly stand up, give everyone a polite little wave, and go find a session that works for you. In fact, you don't even need to attend a session. If there's a person in the EdCamp that you'd like to talk with more, that you'd like to pick their brain and plan something for later, find a place, go sit down, and start sharing ideas. The unconference model allows for that kind of impromptu collaboration. The next thing we do is build the session board. Once I've given everybody the opportunity to think about what the EdCamp means and what they might be bringing, then I ask them to really think about, first of all, why are you here? What did you come to learn? And what do you have to share? We hand out sticky notes and we ask everyone to write as many things as they can on the sticky notes, making sure that they have Post-its for both what I can share and what I can learn. And then our volunteers and community members walk around and answer their questions or give them ideas. Sometimes it's a good time for our staff members to walk around and just throw out little suggestions like classroom management, social emotional things, just giving them some of those ideas. And then all of a sudden they start to scribbling. Once again, I share the information for the Wi-Fi and the session board link, because now I've done all this talking, we're getting going about talking about the session board. They're going to need to know where it is and how to access it. And from there, we dismiss them to breakfast while we build the session board, and then walk around as much as we can to get their questions answered. Thank you for tuning in to this EdCamp instructional video. We hope that you found it informative. Please reach out to Montana PBS if we can help you plan your EdCamp.